All right, good morning, everyone. Hello, welcome to the folks joining on Zoom and the folks here in Wilson Auditorium. Good morning, welcome. My name is Brian Mooney. I am a assistant professor of literacy education in the San Martino School of Education here at FDU. I'm excited to chair this session this morning. And we're going to move into things pretty quickly. Just a couple points of information. One is that we are recording on here, so hopefully everyone's okay with that. We're going to make all these sessions available afterwards. The second is that this you can see is a 2-hour session. We have 4 presentations. We've allotted for 15 minutes per presentation, plus a few more minutes of discussion if need be. So we've allotted extra time, so there's no worries if it goes over by a little bit. We should have plenty of time to hear the awesome presentations today. What else? We will have questions after each presentation as well. So we should be all set up for that tech-wise and all that good stuff. What else am I missing? I think that's it. We're going to jump right into our presentations. And I have all the presentations pulled up here. We have our friends from Monmouth joining us on Zoom, which we're excited. Welcome. And we'll get to that. So the order of presentations for us this morning is, I'll tell you in 1 second. We are going to have our own Michael Saffer from FDU. That'll be followed by a presentation from myself. We'll then have our friends from Monmouth, followed by Christine Jansen and Ellery Bruns from FDU to close us out on AI and information creation use. So how's that all sound? Good? We're feeling good? All right, excellent. So let's move into things. I'm going to welcome up my colleague Michael to begin things for us. And so if you could help me welcome him, that'd be great. And we'll just make sure Michael's all set up with presentations. I think this here, right, Michael? And we'll go full screen. Should be all set.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So first of all, thank you all for joining. Full disclosure, this is my first time presenting in an auditorium this size. So appreciate you all being here. Oh, do I need the microphone?
Yeah.
I apologize.
We have people on Zoom will not hear you if you're not at that mic.
Got it.
Thank you.
Sorry, take 2. Thank you. Thank you everybody for joining. My name is Michael Saffer. I am an adjunct in the San Martino School of Education. I teach pre-service teachers how to teach elementary math, and it's a lot of fun. We have about 15 to 20 students per class, and I can honestly say that there's an energy in the room with the activities we do. And a funny quick story, and then I'll get into this. Last night I had about 4 students absent, excused for a softball game, and the other students who were there were disappointed that we weren't all together. So it was like we have like a nice little family in our class. It's really fun. When I'm not teaching here, I am a full-time math teacher at a nearby middle school, about 5 minutes from here. I've been doing that for about 22 years. So that's my experience in education. And at this time, I'll get right into my presentation, integrating artificial intelligence into teaching and learning. And I'm going to kind of go back and forth a little bit between K-12 and the university world and how we can ethically and practically use AI to best serve our students. So. Do we know how to switch screens? Is it enter?
Oh, yeah.
Scroll. No. What if I move this?
Is this the first of your slides?
This is the first of my slides.
With that arrow to the right?
There we go.
What
Yeah,
is-
there's like 2
Oh, so you don't actually tap.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you like slide it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, can you let somebody come in to join? Like there is one person in the waiting room,
In the waiting room.
Yeah,
In the
if-
waiting room?
in the Zoom waiting room. If you can let that person in, that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So 3 ethical considerations that I consider with with AI in the classroom, academic integrity, okay? We're still maintaining our standard in education, okay? I look at it this way. AI is our sidekick. We're still the teacher, we're still in charge. AI is there to support us, not to do it for us, okay? And a major concern for us at all levels is data privacy. When we upload anything to the AI world, it's still a bit misty as to where that information goes and who gets to see it and do what with it. Okay, so it's critical as we are uploading anything to ChatGPT or any of the programs that I'm going to show you today, that we use confidentiality. We do not have student names or any identifying features that could possibly link to student privacy or school privacy. Okay. And I'm going to try to scroll again. Why am I not able to scroll? Sorry, I'm having trouble scrolling, and it was so easy when Brian did it. Now,
In the arrow key?
I could try, there we go, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna talk about 3 AI programs that I utilize in my rooms today. But we're gonna talk about the growing importance of AI. We know that it's increasingly vital in education, and it offers unprecedented opportunities. There was an article in a newspaper in the mid-1960s. Math teachers picketing with signs because they didn't want the use of calculators in the elementary math classrooms. And I think today AI is the new calculator that we have to get comfortable with. All right, we've come a long way since not wanting the calculators in the classrooms. And I think as educators, I think the one area that we can look at is embracing things that are new. I think oftentimes as educators, when something new comes out, the calculator in the 60s, the AI now, our first response is, hold on a second. I think in embracing might be helpful. And that's what I'm going to kind of talk about today. Benefits for us as university people and K-12 educators. And I'm going to go over a few tools. Let me just move this so I can read them. All right. So today we're going to talk about a program called Gamma AI, Notebook LM, and Magic School AI. Now, I have links to specific things that I've created from all 3 of these that I will embed after this presentation, because I understand that when you start dealing with links on slides, it can be a little messy. So we're just going to keep it nice and tidy. And following my presentation, after I talk about the things I've created, I'll actually be able to show those to you. Okay, so Magic School AI, 80 plus tools for educators. Everything from lesson plan creation to IEP creating assignments as specific as you want them to be, and differentiating instruction. Okay. Magic School AI, but like any other AI, you have to do your due diligence, allows you to create lessons as specific as the following. So this year, my 8th grade students are very interested in getting ready for the school play. They are all in. So when we got into systems of operations, I was able to create lessons based on a middle school play involving systems of operations with 8th grade standards, and it actually created that lesson plan. I confirmed that the systems actually work because AI created it, and it was wonderful. And the students were engaged because it had a topic that they were interested in. Okay, my point is, yes, it can do it. but let's also do our due diligence when we're creating these lessons and not just assuming that it is correct. Magic School also has an IEP generator. Again, do not use a student's name, but it should be your ideas inputted into the AI generator. And what's wonderful about it is it creates an IEP that should this situation ever go to court, it's written in a way that it can be upheld. There's no error. So it's really neat. It can also grade papers, but I feel like now you're getting into a world of you're giving away a little bit too much power. So I caution you with that. But Magic School does create wonderful rubrics, and that I feel you can use because then you're still the person in charge of the grading. Okay, so I encourage you to check out Magic School AI. And the final thing that you can do with Magic School that I utilize with my students is you can actually upload a YouTube video and it will create comprehension questions based on that YouTube video link. Now, again, make sure the questions are appropriate for the grade level, but it does typically do a pretty good job creating those questions. So that's Magic School AI. And again, I can show examples of things I've created for my classroom, but Magic School AI, outstanding program for the classroom. Okay, Gamma. Gamma helps take basic slideshows, PowerPoint, Google Slides, nothing wrong with them. You create the slideshow and you upload it to Gamma. Gamma simply makes your PowerPoint presentation or your Google Slides presentation look much more aesthetically pleasing. And so if I can go back for a second, I used Gamma to make my initial slides for today look a little bit more professional. And as I go through my slides, and what's nice, if I wanted to, I can click on this, I can get rid of that picture. If I didn't like it, I can add my own pictures. They're mere suggestions if you want to change them. Okay, so yeah, create stunning presentations, easy to generate. It does it within like a minute. Automates the design. Now, I encourage you to look at the images. They are not always correct, especially when I'm making slides for my math students. There cannot be computational errors in the images that are being created. That cannot happen. So I look through the images, make sure they're appropriate, and I can get rid of images or simply change them as need be. It's as simple as changing a text box. Super easy, okay? And it's great for college lectures and academic talks. What's nice is just like any other presentation, I could drop this into my syllabus, and if a student is absent for any reason, they can catch up on exactly what they missed. And if they have any questions, we can meet during an office hour and catch up, but they're not missing the key. The last one that I want to talk about today, really the most, and I'll make sure I cover everything, is Notebook LM. That's Google's AI assistant, and it's really cool because it can do a couple of things. First of all, it'll summarize whatever you upload, and here's where it gets very interesting. You can create an anime video based on a topic. So, Pythagorean theorem introduced to my 7th or 8th graders. I've got an anime video, 5-minute clip that they watch and they're in. I can also, on that same Google slide, create a quiz based on the slideshow. I can also create a slide deck based on the Google Slides that I upload. And the great thing about it, it's free. So all you need to do is take your Google Slides, your PowerPoint slides, upload them to Notebook LM, and you can create your video, your your slide deck, your quizzes, all right there. Again, done with a quickness, and it's more student friendly. Okay. All right. So real simple. Practical applications in higher ed. Gamma, great for lectures, aesthetically pleasing, keeps the kids engaged. Notebook LM, great for research and keeping students' interest and engagement through videos, slide decks, things of that sort. And Magic School, terrific just for your basic classroom management. It's all there for you. Everything can be saved to your files, to your documents, just like anything else. And simple to use, really simple to use. All three of those are practical, easy to stay within your ethical parameters as a teacher, and it definitely helps student achievement, those three. So my conclusion, all three of these programs that I mentioned today, enhance teaching and research. I think it'll certainly transform higher ed as AI progresses. But, and I end by saying this, it is up to us to make sure that we are adopting it responsibly, ethically, and that as the educator, we are in charge of the program. Like, it's our sidekick. It's not doing the work for us. Okay. And real quick, Notebook LM, awesome. By removing any key school features like the FDU logo or the name of the course, I created a podcast of my syllabus. Email it to my students a week or so before the semester starts. They can listen to two people talking about the class, because they're not going to read it before they have to, but they will listen to a podcast because it's more at their level, and they get an idea of what we're going to be learning in that class, and hopefully shows an idea that I'm trying to stay on top of current technological trends before the students even meet me. So it helps build that relationship in advance of even meeting my students. So in short, Notebook LM, Gamma, and Magic School for practical, ethical uses in your classrooms. Thank you. Oh, absolutely. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll pause after each presentation and we can take questions either from Zoom, maybe you can.
Sure. Let me tell them. So my guests on Zoom, if you have any questions at this time, we're opening the floor for questions either from the Zoom world or from people in the audience. Hi, yes. So they are. Gamma is free for a certain number of things, but you could just create a new email address and keep going. You know, if I'm being honest, yeah, of course. Anybody on Zoom?
I can ask a question. My background is also math education, so I'm just curious, like, do you integrate or how do you deal with like AI usage in your mathematics course? Like, do you suggest them to use it, or do you have a kind of policy that you utilize in your syllabus or something? Curious about that.
That's a great question. And I do feel like that's the one area where AI needs to improve is actual math computation. And so I use it in a kind of unique way. I will pull up, for example, a system of equation on the board that ChatGPT solved. And there's an error. And I'll pull it up on the board and I'll have my students figure out what ChatGPT did wrong. And it also proves that AI is not perfect. And it also shows my students to maybe be a little cautious if they're just relying on AI. But at the same time, they're also using their reasoning skills to figure out, okay, what did the computer do wrong? So that's how I use it in my classroom. If I'm being quite honest, we don't use the Chromebooks or the computers very much in my math classroom, though. Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. All right.
right. Thank you, Michael. And thank you to those on Zoom. Hopefully no one got stuck in the waiting room for too long. We appreciate you bearing with us as we iron out some of the tech challenges. I know by the time today's over, we'll have figured everything out, but hopefully sooner than that. So we're going to disable the waiting room so that if anyone joins along the way, they'll be able to get in easily. So thank you. Good. Okay. All right. Thank you all for your patience with our tech challenges. I am going to do the next presentation. Let me just time myself so that I do not go over because I do like to talk, but I will keep it short. So thank you, Michael, again, for starting us off with the first presentation, and welcome back to our Zoom folks, and sorry for any inconvenience. My talk is called Artificial Intelligence for K-12 Teachers Towards Critical, Ethical, and Humanizing AI Pedagogies. This comes out of work that my colleague Jamie Rifkowitz, who's amazing, she teaches in the School of Education. She's teaching a new course on AI in K-12 education that I'm going to promote shamelessly in a little while, but she's phenomenal. And we designed some professional development for teachers in New Jersey, and this work really is born out of that. I think what you'll find is that many of the points we talk about today are transferable to higher education. And so I really wanted to sort of think through a framework that I've been developing, because every time I was having conversations with colleagues about using AI for teaching and learning, these three words kept coming up: critical, ethical, and humanizing, and what those things mean in the context of our practice. Again, my name is Dr. Brian Mooney. I am an assistant professor of education in the San Martino School of Ed, where we really emphasize educational technology. And we know that teachers in the 21st century really need to be equipped with these skills and capacities and frames of mind. Just to frame my talk really briefly, I will do some opening framing, talk about dispelling some common myths that come up, especially as we've talked to teachers in New Jersey and beyond. I'll nod towards this CH framework that I'm sort of developing and thinking through, talk about some effective uses of AI in practice, and then reflect and close a bit and take any questions after that. I did want to start with this ethical acknowledgement. This is something that my colleagues and I developed as a way to really honor some of the tensions surrounding AI. And so I just want to take a moment to read it. So before we begin, we pause to recognize some of our ethical concerns about artificial intelligence. AI technologies rely on vast energy and water resources, often extracted from the planet in unsustainable ways. The environmental burdens of this extraction include polluted water, degraded land, and intensified climate risk, which has been shown to disproportionately impact people in low-income communities, communities of color, and developing nations. This is part of a larger pattern of environmental injustice tied to extractive, profit-driven industries, including the technology sector. We also acknowledge that generative AI models are often trained on human work without consent, credit, or compensation. This raises urgent questions about ownership, labor, and exploitation within capitalist systems that privilege profits over people. We further recognize the biases embedded in algorithms and their potential to reproduce harmful stereotypes. Finally, we affirm that human teachers cannot and should not be replaced. There is no substitute for human care, empathy, and relationships in education. And so, as you can tell, I'm highly critical of AI. I also am a huge ed tech person. I believe in the promise and potential of technology, but I also approach this work highly critical, skeptical, and with a sense of what I call critical consciousness, is what Paulo Freire would call it. I do want to just take a moment to dispel some common myths, and this came up as we worked with teachers in New Jersey. First, a brief history of technological hysteria. If you look at any technology that has emerged, all of them were met with fear, hysteria, from going back to the train in 1825 to the telephone to the TV. People thought the TV was going to make us all zombies. I don't know, maybe somewhat true. There's similar fears today with social media, maybe somewhat true. Same thing with VHS, PC, VR. So we want to situate this within a lineage of technology, right, that is often met with fear, especially when it's new and unknown, and it has potential. We also encountered these myths fairly regularly. The first one, that AI is either incredible, it's the best thing ever invented, or that it's horrible and it's awful. And we have found that, somewhere in the middle is more likely true, is that AI is just a tool, and it depends on how we use it, and using it thoughtfully, and sort of resisting both hype and hysteria. We also have heard that AI will make teachers obsolete, or fears that this may be true, right? And we believe strongly in the School of Education, as well as my colleagues Jamie and Emily, who I've worked with closely in this kind of work. We believe that AI can never replace human care, connection, empathy, or relationships. We've also heard AI will make everyone lazy and destroy critical thinking. This one, I'm yet to be I don't know about this one yet, to be honest with you. When used intentionally, though, we do believe that AI can enhance critical thinking. It can help students question, compare, analyze, and synthesize information in new ways, but we have to model what that looks like, right? We have to show them what our interactions with AI look like. Some people have said AI is just fancy autocomplete. Well, yes, but it predicts language patterns at massive scale, but it does a little more than finish sentences, right? It can summarize, translate, make connections, simulate reasoning. And then the other thing we've heard often is that AI just knows everything. It's this magical know everything tool, right? Well, the reality is that most AI models are not current, right? They're trained on data sets that stop at a certain point in time. And they make mistakes and they hallucinate. They can add citations that don't exist, right? So to take a realistic, practical approach to looking critically at what AI can do is absolutely something we should keep in mind. What about the elephant in the room? So this is a nod to Provost Rifkin earlier, who mentioned the elephant in the room. Well, for us in education, this is sort of an elephant in the room. And you can see our elephant there who says, can everyone see my trunk? By the way, this image was, I'm looking here, but it's actually up there. This image was created by AI. So just even for graphics for presentations, sometimes that can be interesting. But cheating, plagiarism, and academic integrity, right? There's been a lot of work at FDU on this. There's been work happening at public school districts across the country and the world about this. So here are some practical suggestions we'd like to offer. First is that how can we design assessments that AI can't do alone? So that could mean using in-class writing, oral presentations, dialogue-based assessments. I know those little blue books are making a big comeback, right? I am not opposed to those, right? I think I hated them as an undergrad and graduate student. I sort of am coming to appreciate them now, but also incorporating like project-based, multimodal, or collaborative tasks that value process over product, and asking students to submit evidence of their process. You know, there's teachers I've talked with recently who are saying, yeah, we're having our students submit in Google Docs and we can see the version history. If they copy and paste a huge chunk of things over, then, well, maybe that's a red flag. I also want to problematize that. I've heard from teachers say, I feel like an AI cop, right? And they're like, why do I have to just continuously monitor like the integrity of what my students are doing? And that's a real tension, and I want to acknowledge that. Also, just modeling ethical AI use, right? I show my students what it looks like when I'm interacting with AI. I show them my prompts. I show them when I reject something that AI has given back to me that I don't find acceptable or accurate. I also emphasize human responsibility, right? For the ideas, the accuracy, and the voice, and treating AI as a thought partner, not as an author. And even thought partner might be giving it too much credit. I know, I'm so highly critical of AI. I'm not going to apologize, though, because I think it's enabled me to come to a more nuanced understanding of this technology. I also want to say that for me as a writer, I'm a writer and a poet and an artist, right? So when I think about AI production, I often think to myself, would I say it? Is that what I mean? And would I say it like that? Those two questions have served as a sort of frame for me, right? Is that what I mean? And would I say it like that, right? And I care deeply about artistic integrity, intellectual integrity. And so these things are very important for me just as a writer and an artist and a researcher. And then supporting authentic student work, right? The reality is that this is part of how students are writing and learning. So giving them opportunities to engage metacognitively, right? Thinking about their thinking when they're interacting with AI technologies, emphasizing process and transparency, and encouraging open conversations about this technology, our fears, the tensions, when might it be appropriate to use it? When is it not? Sometimes I'll tell my students straight out, this is the kind of thing I would rather your thoughts entirely than having AI aid you in this in any way. And I know there are some school districts who have like a system of like green light, yellow light, red light to sort of attach to different tasks and how much AI is invited, if any at all. So here's this framework that I'm just going to talk through briefly. And this is still a work in progress, but I'm thinking about critical, ethical, and humanizing approaches to AI, right? And so when I say critical, right, you see my FDU colors there, I know. Critically examine inequalities related to AI and educational technology. This could mean things like environmental harm, labor exploitation, bias, and access to these technologies while developing what philosopher and scholar Paulo Freire would call critical or socio-political consciousness and awareness, but also the agency to challenge and transform unjust systems, and our responsibility to engage with AI to make it better, make it more just, make it more equitable, and help it to improve human relationships. Also engaging with AI ethically, right? We hear this word coming up over and over, right? But what does that mean, right? Having ethical commitments. It can mean addressing some of those same tensions, right? Environmental impact, labor exploitation, things like data privacy, and of course bias, but also prioritizing human dignity, autonomy, and responsible use. And then when I think about humanizing, I'm thinking about using AI in ways that sustain human connection, affirm identity, and amplify student voice. So ensuring that relationships, care, and creativity, those things are paramount, fundamental to what I believe in education and central to teaching and learning. I also see in the middle here this idea of AI praxis, right? Again, an idea from Paulo Freire and other education scholars. This is a cycle, right, of theorizing and acting and reflecting, right? I want my students to always be engaged in that cyclical process, right? Never stop asking questions, never stop critiquing, never stop taking a critical approach to this technology. So what about AI in practice? This part I'm going to move quickly through because my colleague Chris did a phenomenal job at going over some of the main platforms and tools that we see teachers using in education. We have common general uses, right, like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and then specialized ones, which you heard a little bit about in the first presentation, things like Magic School and Notebook LM. Some common applications are things like creating leveled text for students, right? This is a way of differentiating for students at different performance levels. Really creating interactive and engaging like scenarios, role play scenarios. I know colleagues who even had 2 AI chatbots talking to each other. That kind of thing is incredible, I think. It can be a catalyst for creativity, things like generating creative writing prompts, or check-in prompts for students. Automating administrative tests. I really love this one. I don't know about you. I don't know if there's any K-12 teachers on the call, but even this applies to us in higher ed. I hate making rubrics. I really do. I like thinking through my criteria and what I hope a great product looks like, but I don't like the putting it in boxes and stuff. It feels artificial to me. AI has proved exceptionally helpful in this way, right? Still, when it gives me back a rubric, I ask it, is this accurate? Is this what I mean? Is this how I would say it? Right? Enhanced collaboration, brainstorming with an AI thought partner or brainstorming with your peers as well as an AI thought partner. Magic School, I'm going to skip because we heard about that. Some of the common things, though, are things like, again, rubric generators, sentence starters, class newsletters, right? Communicating with school communities. And of course, academic content, I've generated text for students, I couldn't find a good example of one and had it generate for me. These are some of my favorite, AI tools from Magic School. So there's things like, I just want to talk about one, which is the FDU lesson plan. You'll see the little custom button down there, right? I was able to upload the FDU lesson plan template that we use in the San Martino School of Education, which has very specific parameters and it's really long and students hate it, but it helps them become better planners. But I was able to upload that to Magic School so that it has an awareness, it has the context to be able to give me back a lesson plan based on criteria that I give it. Now, do I want my students to plug in, say, make me a lesson plan about teaching the life cycle of plants, and that's it, and then it gives me a whole lesson plan and they're done? No, absolutely not, right? And I model for them what it looks like to have an iterative process with the AI, right? An ongoing back and forth conversation. There's some other incredible tools here, like creating questions from YouTube video transcripts or text-dependent questions, even enhancing our level of questions. You see depth of knowledge questions here, right? Notebook LM, amazing tool, agree. I think I'll go forward. I should also give credit to Jamie here, who helped work on a lot of this content for some PD we did with teachers, which I found incredibly helpful for myself. I'm always learning, right? I think it requires of us a posture of humility, right? Pedagogical, intellectual humility to say, this is changing so fast. There's new tools today. We did this a few months ago. It's probably outdated already, right? So that's part of what we need to understand also as educators, is that this is rapidly changing. And I find that exciting. I do. Even though you can tell I'm highly critical of this technology, I find it exciting as well. Here's a list, and we're happy to share this with you. This is also in the folder of some common platforms, tools, usages of AI in education. Things like Khanmigo, Canva, MagicWrite. I love Canva. I hope you're using it as well. Eduaid, Curipod. You can see what they're good for here. But these have been helpful for many of the teachers that we work with in schools across New Jersey. I do want to just shout out real quick that we've developed a new course designed and taught by our very own Jamie Rifkowitz, who's here, which was first offered in spring 2026, which is AI in the K-12 classroom. Jamie, when's this being offered next, just so folks know? Next spring. So there you go. If you want more information, you can reach out to myself, our director, Dr. Kate Spence, or Jamie. I'm sure she'd be happy to connect with you as well. And then I just wanted to stop there and do a little vibe check. Like I said, we have a few minutes after each presentation. The questions I thought about as I was preparing for this were, what excites you about this technology? What concerns you? And any additional thoughts or questions. So if you're on Zoom, maybe come off mute because we're not sort of actively monitoring the chat here. I don't see anything in the chat, but we also can take some questions or comments from folks in the room as well. Yeah.
So I want to jump back to your slide on kind of your practical suggestion for MOPS, right?
Mm-hmm.
I find when I talk to faculty, there's kind of two silos that are rapidly developing, and that's folks that change their assessments to match the AI technology and therefore don't have to be AI cops.
Mm-hmm.
And folks that refuse to and therefore spend a ton of time being AI cops.
Yeah.
And both of those are really strong positive feedback, self-enforcing loops
Mm-hmm.
that are hard to get out.
Yeah.
So when you've been talking to high school teachers or faculty here,
Mm-hmm.
have you had any success in moving people from one silo to the other? Or maybe a balanced approach somewhere?
Yeah, I think of it more of as a balanced approach and a process, right? I think, we do see teachers have that aha moment, like often when we're doing the PD, and then other folks come along a little more slowly. I probably was one of those folks, who, and I don't think there's one thing you can do to redesign your assessments so they're AI proof, because again, these technologies are changing. As soon as you create some kind of mechanism that, students will find a way around it, because that's what they do. They're creative, and I appreciate that about them, right? So yeah, I think it's somewhere in the middle, Chris. I think that question is great. Do we refuse to change, or do we, adapt radically in the moment so that our assessments are completely AI proof? I think it's an ongoing conversation, one that I don't necessarily have an answer to. Thank you for that question. Other questions or comments or thoughts from Zoom or folks in the room? Yeah.
Question for you, Brian, and for everybody in the room. One of the things that is really striking to me about AI is there have been times when I wanted to get some information that I thought would be complete, that I had some sense of. Like, this is an area that I know something about, and I think there are like 20 things in this category, and I would like to have a complete list of AI companies. And AI will come up with some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will be hallucinated, and some that I know should be on the list are not there. And so for me, as an expert in this thing it was just convenient for me to have AI just give me the 20. And it was like just revelatory every time I tried this to see how incorrect and incomplete things are. So my question for everybody in the room is, have you tried having students ask AI for something that they are expert about so that they can have that interaction with seeing the hallucinations and the missing information, right? Like just an example of something I was looking for the other day about the population of people who identify as Jewish in Europe. And the information that was provided me by AI said something about the Jewish population in Europe has suffered a demographic crisis. But it didn't say, oh, there was this thing called the Holocaust in the 1930s and 40s, right? So like, that's big red flag for me. I'm wondering what the experience has been if you give students a task to do something with AI that they are expert on, what the results are.
So for the folks on Zoom, I don't know if you could hear the question. It was, have we tried giving students a topic, something that they're an expert on, and then asking AI to generate information about it so that they can see the inaccuracies sometimes, what it does well with, what it doesn't. So anyone, I think that's a phenomenal activity that now I want to try. Yeah, someone on Zoom?
Yeah, Brian, our next presentation has an example of
Yes.
a way that we did this at Monmouth. So we're excited to share that.
Thank you, Mama.
Excellent. Thanks, Monmouth. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I teach a course for sophomores,
Mhm.
I also counsel
Mhm.
academic counseling. And a lot of my students are complaining, oh, my professor used AI,
Mm.
Sam, or my professor used AI. Some students are very upset by this. How do you respond to that?
Mm.
I don't know what to say. I often say, well, I think, how does that affect? It's the same questions that you be asked. They did come say, we're still learning. It's all about learning. And you have to stress that with the students.
Yeah.
How would you respond to that?
My first thought is that I kind of honor their anger to a bit, you know, like there's lazy ways to use AI. And if I was a student and I was finding this seems so generically generated, I find the best products that AI sometimes produces for me as a teacher are ones that you cannot tell is AI because I went in and I changed and customized it so much. So does that make sense? That's just one way of thinking about it, I think, for me. If anyone on Zoom, and we're going to get to the next presentation shortly, but the question was that we're noticing students are getting frustrated when their teachers or professors are using AI and expressing that. So how do we sort of make sense of that?
I would just add something to this, which is that students also get frustrated by faculty who, this is across the line, who teach on the basis of notes they created 40 years ago. So, I mean, I just want to put that point in the context of, you know, and also apparently there are hieroglyphs on a pyramid in Egypt that say something about teachers complaining that students have gone off to drink fermented beverages. Students will complain, right? I mean,
Yeah, well done. All right, I think we can maybe do one more quick one, and then I want to make sure we reserve time for the final two. So I saw Alan's hand first. Go ahead. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you foresee it that possibly in future to be replaced by AI and why?
I can never see that day. I understand the market forces that want to make that possible, right? I understand the tradition of deprofessionalizing educators, and I understand the privatization movement of education. But I firmly believe that there is no parallel for the human care, love, and relationships that teachers provide in the classroom. So that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. All right, thank you so much, appreciate it. We're gonna move to our third presentation, which is our friends from Monmouth here. I will let them introduce themselves to you. You guys have screen share capability, so I'm gonna let you guys share if one of you would like to. That way, I don't have to be changing slides for you. So if you wanna take just a moment, we'll make sure everyone can see your presentation.
Round of applause for Brian.
Okay, can you see the presentation?
Brian, can we get the
Yeah.
lights turned off in front of the screen? Get a lot of watt.
Yeah, hold on. We're just ironing out some lighting situations for you guys so we can see the screen as clear as possible. I'll let you know when you have the green light. Just one moment.
Just flipping switches.
We good?
Oh,
Better?
yeah, it's a big complex.
That do it?
Go off. All right.
Yeah, you good?
Did you, is there another good back there?
That do it?
Is that all right? Better.
It's better.
I think they want the light directly above.
Oh, these around.
Yeah.
Not these, right? No.
Yes, that did it.
That did it? Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think we're all set. Thanks for your patience again. I'm going to turn it over to our friends and colleagues from Monmouth. I'll let them introduce themselves and take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In this AI era, we are struggling with ceiling right setting, right? Yeah, so thank you so much for allowing us to present via Zoom. This is our CAPE accreditation site visit week. And yeah, we wish us luck for that. So our presentation, maybe we should introduce ourselves first. Like, I am Dr. Ike May, Associate Professor and Chair of the Department of Special Education.
And I'm Servay Zambak. I am Associate Professor of Math Education at Monmouth University and Department Chair for the Curriculum and Instruction here too.
And hi, I'm so happy you're here. My formal name is Catherine, but you can call me Casey Lubineski. I am the program director for the MAT program and a full professor and faculty in special education.
So our presentation is about do's and don'ts and lesson learned from the field. So we have the teaching part and research part. And as Brian and other presenter talked about, like AI evolves so much our teaching, and we cannot wait for the system to catch up, right? So we couldn't even get ahead of AI shortcuts with better plagiarism detectors. That's still quite unreliable. And AI is getting better with humanizing their works too. Like, as we know, like, for example, the Grammarly has this icon that say like humanize our work. So the AI detection is not like even that really perfect solution. So what we can do with teaching and AI. So let us share some of that do's and don'ts from our teaching experience with AI. And Dr. Zambak.
Okay, so hello everyone. So basically, at first, what we're going to talk about is like in what way we or I am using generative AI in my teaching. So here you see that like I basically use generative AI for as an instructional design partner, as an assessment coach, and as a visual design supporter. That's how I use it. So I usually use generative AI to design multiple versions of elementary math tasks, which I talked about. I usually teach elementary math methods course at Monmouth University, for which I want students, my pre-service teachers in my class can identify and evaluate which ones are low cognitively demanding and which ones are high cognitively demanding tasks. So that's how I start with. Early in the semester, I provide tasks at different levels within given scenarios, and I provide and share those with students so that they can first compare and contrast and then develop their own cognitively demanding tasks for their own projects. So they're supposed to create a kind of cognitively demanding task with which they're teaching in their field placement. That's an important piece. So I just do it as an educator to just come up with different kind of scenarios. On top of it, this semester, I also developed computational thinking tasks that is like integrated to my research as well, but it's also embedded within my teaching too. So I'm using these research tools when I'm teaching elementary methods course. So I developed computational thinking tasks in my elementary mathematics class, which I use generative AI to support. I usually use it for introductory activities. So in my mind, I already have the framework, like what computational thinking means. So there are just 5 components that I'm aware of. So I know these components. So that is like my prompts integrate when I'm asking those questions to the generative AI. I can say that like, okay, so create some sort of 4th grade or 5th grade task, computational thinking task, at which my priority will be decomposition or pattern recognition, this kind of stuff. In that class, students are supposed to use their computer, where I already use Snap for block coding. So this is more like an introduction phase. And I also bring students from Asbury Park, so 5th and 4th grade students. So I want to integrate something relevant, not only my pre-service teachers, but at the same time for the these elementary students as well. I make specific components of CT apparent within this activity, and I ask AI to design tasks based on that. Some of these tasks could also integrate or require a kind of theme I design for the weeks, like to take students' engagement and interest with that one. So sometimes I ask, like in the fall, I said, I want this task to have a kind of Halloween theme. And then like, that is how I just try to create. And this time it's more like, okay, that could be a more Eastern theme in the spring or something like that. And on top of it, like if that is not required, then there are some like emphasis that I have with my pre-service teachers, for which I ask like bring also various NCTM practices so that like it can be more enhanced. The test can be more enhanced. So those are a couple of things that I utilize when I'm using generative AI in my class. There are also support with visual design as well sometimes. I mean, there are some tools like we can easily do with like Adobe or something like that. If I want to remove the background or something like that, or create specific base 10 blocks with specific numbers. So I use a generative AI to create that visual immediately. It is not always accurate, but it gives me a starting point at least to begin with. Or if I want to remove a background so that it will look more appealing when I'm presenting something, that's how I use it. Can you move to the next slide? So the other topic is I already showed is like assessment in the age of AI. So in this picture, you see that one side is memorization and the other side is metacognition. As AI becomes more commonplace, we educators need to decide when to assess factual knowledge and when to assess the application of that knowledge. So with the availability of AI, learners can access facts more easily if they're accurate. There are also advantages, other advantages with the AI as well, such as like it reduces cognitive load when the priority is not recalling the facts, but applying them. So that is why assessment should instead focus on problem solution, monitoring understanding, evaluating sources and outputs, and explaining reasoning and revising the work based on feedback. So those are like what I consider more dealing with metacognition when we're assessing students. Of course, like in our departments, we talked about how are we going to do that for each courses that we're teaching, and then we come to conclusion in our departments that there could be a place for old-fashioned assessments if the priority is to assess students' factual or theoretical knowledge. So some of the faculty just bring back in-person exams, and then rather than just heavily rely on like only writing tasks, online stuff, or oral defenses. So like those are the stuff that we are bringing, especially if the idea is to assess students' factual or theoretical knowledge or foundational knowledge, let's put it that way. But for application, we have to think about process more than the product. That's what we're thinking about. Like the process is more dealing with how I came to those outputs, how I came to this product at the end, and then like explaining and justifying their decisions. In my class, elementary math, like creating lesson plans and unit plans are very important piece. So I assume my students are using AI for many parts of it. And I accept that fact, but I try to imitate to students that like, you have to be the decision making and then be critical about how you create your own product, because not everything will be accurate as you want. The other thing is I also integrate drafting a lot so that like, we're in conversation between professor and student, but at the same time, student and the AI, so that they're just improving the quality of the output, the lesson plan, step by step. So that like, and also I ask them to reflect on their revision process as well. So those are like a couple of stuff that I can talk about, like how I am checking or revising assessment in this era nowadays.
Okay, so it kind of reminds me, and I'm so happy that we had the first two talks to lay the groundwork and the foundation for where this example comes from. So at Monmouth right now, there's not a policy about AI. And like Brian said, I felt like I was an AI cop. So EDS 500 is a foundational course in special education where they basically learn the history about disability and the disability categories for the most part in general, just to give you the gist. So many students, I've taught this multiple semesters, at least 10, and many students I've noticed over the last couple semesters have been, and it's increasing every semester, I feel like an AI cop. It's hard to tell what's theirs, what's not theirs, especially because this is the first course. It's all online. And so it's hard to tell. I don't know them, so are they claiming it as their own work? And it's very stressful as a faculty. So I found myself constantly reminding students to put it in their own work if I did find it, because there's no policy in place. Even if we caught them that we could do anything about it. So this semester, I had a nice little winter break, and I woke up and I said, you know what? I am going to embrace AI, right? If they're all using it, I'm going to choose an assignment and I'm going to tell them I'm going to highly recommend that they use AI, and let's just see what happens. So we have something called an ASR, which is an active student response. And basically, it's almost like it varies each week, but it's a couple of questions, like maybe 5 questions, and it's about the readings and the key foundational knowledge that they need. And I decided that was going to be the assessment that I was going to encourage AI use and kind of see what happens. So can you switch the slide, I? So this is an example of kind of what it looks like. So in the beginning of the ASR, I updated the directions and I said, for each question, use the following bullets. And so in the first class, I talked to them like almost during orientation. And I said, I want you to directly copy and paste number 1 into an AI tool. And then they said, like, what AI tools? And they all shared. Some people had, everyone's coming from different background knowledge. So they shared different AI tools that they could use, like Magic School. They talked about ChatGPT. They talked about Copilot, Grammarly. Anyway, all of that. And I said, that's called prompt input. So you're going to directly put the prompt or the question into the AI. I want you to copy and paste exactly what AI says to you. And then I need you to tell me what tool you used, and then answer in your own words and critically analyze the response, citing the text or the page numbers or PowerPoint slides that coincided with the week's work. So this is kind of every week for the whole semester. This was a constant staple that they got to choose to do. Now, I also gave the option right in the beginning, because of ethical, because we're talking about ethics like we've talked about in the previous presentations. Not everyone is ethically on board or open. And so I just said, if you do not want to do this and use AI, just email me and I will tell you how to do the assignment without AI. So, and we would meet monthly. So that's just to give you some background. So can you move to the next slide? So this is an example of a student response that used the ASR that used AI. So you can see like the AI highlighted specific words. You can see that the student used ChatGPT. And then you can see how they analyzed the response, citing direct quotes from the slide presentation that was created and different websites to support whether the response from AI is correct or not, and why. And if I'm going too fast, just let me know. So next slide. So after the first month, this was, I let them do it from mid-January to February. So it was 4 ASRs they completed. 13 out of 14 students chose to use AI. 12 out of 13 used ChatGPT and 1 used Copilot. And I said, so in our once a month Zoom session, I said, so how's it going? What do we think about AI? And they're like, it was not really what I expected. They said, AI is wordy, it's repetitive, it's not always right. And I'm having a hard time retaining information. I said, okay, no worries. Again, it's always an option. So just let me know if before you don't want to use AI and I can tell you the directions. So after 2 months, I noticed students stopped using AI more than in the beginning. So only 9 out of 10 students used it out of the 14. Again, mostly ChatGPT, only the 1 used Copilot. And when we came back to the second month, I said, how's it going? What do you think about AI? Oh, it gets confusing. Is this AI or is this a textbook? I understand more if I just go with the textbook readings. After reading AI, I got stuck and I had trouble rewording AI into my own words. So that was after 2 months. And then we just had our meeting last night. So I'm so excited to share. So now we're going on to like mid-March to mid-April. They just submitted their last assignment. And so I could get, this was only 3 data points though this time. The The first two were 4 sets of data points. And so what they said to me last night was now there's only 4 to 5 people using AI, and they're all ChatGPT. And I said, I noticed like a lot of you are not using AI anymore. What's going on? And they said, oh, it's stressful. It's so tedious. The information's wrong. I learn better without it. I proofread it and then I second guess myself. I feel like it's double the work. I feel brain dead because I think that I have a hard time thinking of my own thoughts after it tells me what to think. And then we had a whole discussion on, okay, so do you think this is an appropriate assignment to use AI? And then they all said pretty much unanimously, the majority said no. And I said, okay, so let's think of suggestions on when would you use AI? And since this is one of the first classes in the program, and this is foundational information, it is key that they remember these like key disability categories and the laws. So I was very surprised at the response and the data that we got. And they said, it's more of like an advisor. Maybe revise what I wrote, check my grammar, update my APA, but it is definitely not if you're learning the information for the first time. And this all came from them without me having to tell them to use AI or not. So it's just an example you might want to use. And I really feel like you could even use this in high school or middle school. And this is, I just jumped in to try to see what would happen. And it actually was not what I expected. So, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah,
or do we want to go back and see if anyone had a question about that example?
yeah, maybe, yeah, sure.
Take a break, yeah.
Does anybody have a question related to this specific practice?
I'm coming. I'm here. So yeah, I will relay questions if anyone has questions about those examples, or if we want to stop and pause there for anything related to the presentation. Yeah.
So I want to clarify these graduate students, graduate level. So being these graduate levels, you made a comment that you think that this would work through K through 12. How do you feel the motivation of a graduate level student impacted this assignment and this use versus, let's say, someone who's coming in to take introductory to sociology, psychology, or whatever? How do you see that translating over to this? You said these are foundational for something. They have that parent drive and that reason to know it. How do you think this can be adapted for an intro level course at the college level?
Yeah, I don't know. Were you guys able to hear that question? All right.
Okay, to be honest, I was thinking about like to again, so.
Okay, I'll repeat it. It sounds like maybe or no. So the question was, were these graduate students, and either yes or no, but also how do you see this potentially being adapted for maybe undergrads or K-12 students who have different motivations? If you guys could speak to that at all, I think does that capture your question more or less? Okay, got it.
So to be honest, it's a grad class. However, we have such a mixed, we have undergrads taking this grad class. And so we have people that are in the field teaching, and then we have people that are in undergrad that are able to take this, this course. So I think the motivation obviously motivation, depending on where you are in your practice, could be different, right? Like if you're teaching in the field, maybe it will save you time, right? And so you're going to hurry up and try to use AI. But I noticed this, I teach the same course, which is EDS 330 at the undergrad level, and it is similar. The amount of AI that was being used was very similar. And so I think that I think that it's important to understand the students and where they're coming from and their experience or access to AI. And I think that as long as you laid a foundation, like I did in the beginning course, like in the beginning class, where everyone kind of knew it. In the beginning, there was a few people who were adult learners this was their first class back after 20 years of teaching, or of 20 years of being in college. And so I had to show them a little bit in more detail. So I think understanding where the learners are is important, for sure. But to adapt it, I mean, it could be definitely done on a smaller scale. I think it's important to be consistent. I think they saw this pattern because it was consistently the same assignment and then putting it into the AI chat bot, or putting it into the AI tool as to why they got the responses and stopped using it. Because I think if we did it like it shows after 1 month, I don't know that it would be as effective as it has been now. Does that make sense?
The next part of the presentation is actually about EDS 330, so it's kind of
perfect.
covering
Yeah.
that. But I think Mary had a question.
Yeah, I did see one hand.
No,
Mary.
I was just going to say a quick comment that I think that this is where Provost Rifkin, I think he was the one addressing this earlier, where the point about what you're an expert in, because I'm just thinking of the lower grades, right? I'm thinking before you even get to college, and how to come back to his example. If you take anything that even a kid, a young adult, right, knows so well and start from that frame, I think that's where that's relevant, like the starting point to make it useful for them, right? And to also still be able to prompt them along the way too, I think that they need. But if you're starting from that point, to his point, I think that could be effective. And that's where you need the expert topic again, like, you're an expert kind of thing. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks. I just want to give you guys a quick time check. We're at the 20-minute mark, which is fine. Like we said, we built in extra time. We have one presentation left. But I just want to make sure we have time for Q&A for y'all and for our final presentation. So just a quick reminder.
Okay. So I will try to quick. So this one is actually EDS 330. That's like the same class, basically same class as Dr. Lubneski talked about, but undergraduate, introduction to special education. And for this stage, like the developmental stage is so different from those EDS 500. So what I did was that diversing Bloom's taxonomy for this class. So traditionally, sit at the top of the Bloom's taxonomy, right? But building on like remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating. But AI can now create things. So I kind of reverse the Bloom's taxonomy. So here's 5 steps. The first one is write first. So students write their draft weekly in class. This is like a completely in-person class. So using a pen and paper, unless they need accommodation to use a computer. So they write handwritten paper. That's this weekly reflection will become philosophy paper for them later. Then struggle second, which is I provided them to do the blind peer review session, kind of switching the paper around without any name, and using a rubric. And it's printed out, so they have to use a pen. They are forced to use a pen, and then provide a feedback, underline a favorite sentence, circle a passage that needs elaboration, etc. Like I teach them how to do that, like effective peer blind review. And then, so like they are forced to analyze and evaluate the specific writing task first in class, twice in the semester. And then prompt starts. So they can now go back home and then ask AI to check the paper using the rubrics, and provide them suggestion for the improvement. But I ask them not to ask AI to write the paper. And then by this stage, they've been already working so much on handwritten. They don't ask them AI to write because it's kind of like make the double work for them. And they already have very clear, solid idea of what kind of things they need to write. Right? Then they will they need to write, reflect on like what they wrote, why they wrote that, like what kind of division they made based on the peer feedback. So that's how I do, like kind of like forcing them to use like a paper pen, like the thinking deeply about that writing. And I really see like almost any student use AI for this assignment. Kind of it's surprising, like because they have so many like spelling errors and grammatical error. Like, I feel like at least they should use Grammarly, but they don't. So yeah. And here's another thing. The last piece of the AI and teaching that I wanted to share. This is a infographic from the textbook by Matt Miller. I guess many people might know this. This guy has this website sharing a lot of like innovative instructional teaching resources. And here is this question on the left bottom side to ask when you think about, how much AI use you want to allow your students, what's okay, what's not, for whom, for what work, under what circumstances, what work best prepares students for their future. Where do you draw the line for your students? At what point is it the student work and no longer AI? And as you might have heard, the Einstein AI that college dropouts created, like basically the AI can take entire asynchronous course for the students, go to Canva and then review course material, watch videos, and then provide the weekly discussion and writing. So we have to be very cognizant about, communicating the AI use in our teaching, and then develop our assessment to really assess the students' learning. So really quickly, let's go to the research with AI, Sarfai.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spend lots of time at this point. What I'm going to say is like, there are parts that I'm using AI, generative AI for like to benefit my research in some capacity. Simply said, what I want to say is actually, I use it for deep research. That is a term that came with AI nowadays. And then I believe like what we can do with generative AI, if you want to contribute to your research project or your research plan, with AI, it becomes beyond a simple search, but it becomes more deep research if you integrate the critical thinking skills when you're evaluating the findings and output with whatever you're getting from it. And then for that one, you need to be the expert. That's what I'm trying to say as well. I'm not going to spend more time with this one or for the next slide. So I'm going to open the space for any type of questions that you have that you saw with our slides or something to follow up that we shared so far. Thank you.
Thank you all. Can we give it up for our friends from Monmouth real quick? Thank you. You're getting lots of applause. What's that? Oh yeah, they're asking if you could back up one slide, and then we'll take questions from the floor. Is this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we'll open it up for any questions for our friends from Monmouth. Yeah, go ahead, and I'll relay the questions for y'all again.
Work with college students with language-based learning disabilities on campus. So I'm particularly looking at the EDS 500 part of the presentation. Are you concerned about training teachers who intend to work with students with disabilities through AI? Like the slide said, what is SLT? It's teaching students with SLT is very hands-on in order to learn how to work with that population.
Do you want to come up and ask that question? Because I'm not even going to try. So yeah, no, this is such a great question. I don't want to mess it up. So
I don't know if they heard any of that.
probably not.
Okay. Hi, I was mentioning that I work on campus here with college students with language-based learning disabilities. So this is about the EDS 500 portion. Are you concerned about training teachers through AI or allowing them to learn about learning disabilities through AI when teaching students, for example, the SLD slide, what is SLD? Teaching students with SLD is so specific and hands-on. So what are your concerns about training teachers or teachers who are wishing to become special ed teachers through AI?
That's a great question. So this is the foundational course where they're just learning the basics of SLD. And this is also only one assessment, one form of assessment that's in the course. And so I just want to make sure that they're able to identify and know the most important content about SLD. And then as they progress through the program and even through the course, when we get to strategies and things like that, it's definitely more hands-on. We use video. We use video for our assignments, discussion boards. We have quizzes also if there's more content that we're interested in. But I do. So when you're talking about AI specifically training, is that what you're thinking? Is that what she asked?
Yeah, like allowing students to learn about the basis of SLD
Yeah.
through AI.
Allowing students to learn about the
Yeah.
basis of LSD through
So SLD.
SLD. I was like, that's a different, that's a whole different topic. Yeah.
Well, and I think the key and what I definitely made sure is that I had to give a lot of feedback on this assignment because when they analyzed their writing to switch it to their own writing, I almost had to teach them literacy skills for this is what the AI said, but you need to make this in your own words. And then that's why it's critical to have them. So like, not only did they read the textbook, but we have PowerPoint slides that have links and videos and the PowerPoint that they do because it's an online class. And so they really have to know the slide numbers and where did you get the information from or what video did you watch to get the content off of it. So I wouldn't say they're learning it through AI at all. They should be doing the reading and they should be doing the slide deck, and they're just checking to see if the AI is correct in how they analyzed it. And I think that's the main problem. Like in the beginning, after the first month, people said, I didn't realize AI was not correct. There was 2 people in class that thought everything AI said was correct. So they kind of came to that on their own because I make them connect the AI response directly to the course readings or the PowerPoint or the videos or the content. Does that make sense? So they're definitely not using.
I also would like to just like support this point. Like I'm not in special education, I'm in general education, but I just want to just be on the same page regarding. I don't think that AI will replace us as the teacher educator. It's not going to happen or something like that because like as I said during my portion, that like there's stuff that teachers need to develop because without the foundational knowledge or factual knowledge, there is no way they can move forward with the profession. So AI will be just a cognitive partner. That's what we are saying actually. And then in the past, we were talking about something different. Like we were using Google search in the past as well, the same way for some kind of validation or finding and accessing to information. Now the name change, and then we're just replacing with like, maybe it's more generative. That is the issue maybe, but there's so many alternative assessment that we incorporate within our classes so that we can check, we can like triangulate what we think about the knowledge of the students that they're presenting with the outputs or products that they share with us. That's what I'm thinking at least.
Thank you for that. And then just one final thought, and then we'll move to our final presentation of this session. One of the most promising things for me that I think came out of this is the question about youth and young adult resistance to AI, right? Like you guys spoke to some of the motivations that we heard, and I'm especially interested in that as well. Like I've talked with my colleague, Alan, who's here, about some of the ways that we're seeing young people resist or critique AI. Like I spend way too much time on TikTok, and a lot of young folks will talk about something called AI slop, which I think is a hilarious term. But it's this critique of like this abundance and saturation of AI that's all around us, much of it superficial, much of it hollow. And that's really interesting to me because I think we don't see young people blindly accepting it. And those critiques I think are really important. And I appreciate that you all pointed that out in your work. So thank you. One more time for our friends from Monmouth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, thank you all so much. So we are going to move to our 4th presentation of this session. My colleagues from FDU, Christine and Ellery, who are coming up, and I'm going to turn it over to them in just a moment. I'm going to make sure we can share their work so y'all can see it. And we should be good to go momentarily. And let's go into slideshow view for y'all. I think you're all set. Good.
Awesome.
Thanks. Yep.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to AIU Information Creation and Use. My name is Ellery Bruns. I'm a research and instruction librarian and adjunct professor here on the Metropolitan campus. This is my colleague Christine Jensen from our Florham campus. She's also a research and instruction librarian and adjunct professor. This presentation was created with FDU librarians on both of our campuses, so I just want to give those credit to Angelina Carney, Julia Ercolano, Colleen Fisher, and Leanne Minkoff, who are not here today, but here in our slides and creation. So today we're going to be talking a lot about how AI is created and how it is involved in the research process and some risks involved in that. We're going to be covering librarians as information specialists, how information is created and how we can use it. And also how librarians can help faculty and our students navigate the challenges of using AI in research. So I'm going to pass it off to Christine.
All right, so first, librarians as information specialists. In our role as educators and research experts, we manage and organize and provide access to curated digital and print resources. We assist students and faculty in discovering high-quality sources tailored to their information requirements and information needs. And we help students and faculty navigate complex information environments like large language models, databases, and other online research as well. So we are here to help students and faculty search, find, and evaluate information so they can create and share new information and add to the scholarly conversation. It's been really great. The three groups have already presented because I feel like a lot of what we're going to talk about is just reinforcing a lot of what they have already mentioned. So as information specialists, we are guided by the ACRL framework, which is made by the Association of College and Research Libraries. There are four main frames that is how we do our instruction, whether we visit one of your classes or we might have a one-on-one with a student during a reference interaction. The first is research as inquiry. This is navigating information efficiently by recognizing information need. So realizing that it is about the journey, not just about the process, and understanding that it's more exploratory, not just I need answers immediately. Searching as strategic exploration, using critical thinking skills to make informed decisions during research. What kind of information is required for their assignment or do they need? And what's the best way to search for that specific information that they need? Authority is constructed and contextual. This is about analyzing information for bias, intent, and perspective. Not always reading something at face value, but understanding maybe who funded the study, who is the publication, do they have any particular reputation? Just going a little deeper into where did you get your information from, especially is, who evaluate if they had a blog, who wrote that blog versus maybe a peer-reviewed article. Information creation as a process, evaluating sources by understanding their creation process. So I jumped ahead a little, but how is a blog created versus a news article versus an academic journal article? What kind of review process goes through when each of those pieces of information are created? So depending on your information need, which is the most appropriate to use for your research? Scholarship as conversation, contribute to discourse by using the information found and then building on top of it. So I know in education, we teach a lot about constructivist teaching, that it's what do they already know? What can we add to that? And then them creating new knowledge by putting those two things together. And information has value. Give credit to the original ideas of others through citations. So the research process helps to break down the information creation into steps. And we love that the previous presentation had pretty much the same research process as us for the deep research. So this is what we really talk about when students are doing a research writing assignment is first, okay, they're given the assignment. They need to identify what topic. Sometimes it's broad, choose a social issue. Sometimes it might be something more specific, but identifying what topic do they want to use and developing that topic. Then conducting background research and refining the research questions. So they have a really broad topic that they need to now kind of explore to understand what some of those subtopics are. Then as they're doing that background information, reading some overviews, usually encyclopedias were the main place where you got that kind of information. But also now we're going to talk about how AI can help with that. And then refining that. So you now have a broader topic, you do some background information, you narrow down that topic, and then you create your research question or sometimes your working thesis statement. You then take that research question or working thesis statement to then develop your search strategy. So you're identifying what search terms you need to use, what kinds of sources you need, where is it best to find those sources, and how to use either prompts or search statements to find what you are looking for. Refine the search. So as you're searching and as you're reading, I love this step. We do talk this as a process. So even though I call them steps, it is a reiterative process that at any point you might jump back. Refining the search is the process where students might say, oh, there's not a lot of information about this topic. I don't know if this is going to be a good fit or if I'm going to be able to find enough. Or sometimes it inspires the graduate students, well, maybe this is something that should be studied because there isn't a lot of information about this. Also refining the search is, okay, what search statements or prompts worked really well for me? Which ones didn't work? Or as I'm reading, I'm discovering new terms that I didn't even think of that I should incorporate into my future searches. Then there's evaluating the actual sources. So making sure that these sources are reliable and credible and appropriate for the assignment. And understanding the sources. So really now that you've evaluated these sources, reviewing them, reading them, digesting them, synthesizing them. So you now know, okay, I have my knowledge, I learned this new knowledge. What knowledge do I want to now share out in my final product, which could be either a written paper, but also there's a lot of digital projects that can also be produced, whether it's a slide presentation, a podcast, a video, where they can share the new knowledge that they have gained. So we are now going to walk you through how AI can help at almost every stage of the research process, starting with identifying and developing a topic. LLMs are brainstorming partners that can help one to select a topic and identify the subtopics. One of the ones we tend to often use is Perplexity, because Perplexity pulls information from the internet and it provides the sources immediately of where it got its information from, and it gives current information. Perplexity uses GPT-5 and Claude 4.6 Sonnet. We love it because it does not require a student to sign in to use it. So if students don't feel like they want to have a sign in or make an account, they can still use it in the class. And yes, and it gets the current information. So it claims that it gets it from authoritative sources. So less Reddits, less forums, less blogs, but you still need to evaluate where it pulls its information from. When conducting background research and refining the research question, now that the student has identified their topic, they can now gain a basic understanding about that topic. They will identify personal gaps in their own knowledge and drill into areas of interest by reading the summary overviews and following the sources provided. So as I said, usually for ChatGPT, you need to request that it actually give you sources, which you do need to check for hallucinations. But Perplexity will give you direct links to where they got their information from. And when you're doing a Google search and the AI comes back, it does that as well for students. Perplexity shares what sources it uses. It can scrape the web for current information, and it can help students dive deeper into subtopics. Now, we were recently introduced to FredGPT here at FDU. It does provide summaries based on its training data, which includes information through June 2024. However, if students are using FredGPT to get a summary about a topic, to just get a, background information, a basic understanding about a topic to try to figure out how they want to narrow down their topic, please note that it cannot browse the live web or provide real-time updates on events occurring after 2024 as of right now. So just be aware that for current events, using something that does pull from the web, like Google or Perplexity, is a better choice. But if you're doing more historical topics, then you can also use FredGPT for that. Once the student gains some background information about the topic, they have now narrowed their topic down and they can create their research question or a working thesis statement. And that will guide their deeper research and search strategy. So when developing a search strategy, students need to identify what types of sources they need. So again, whether it's by the professor or whether it's maybe their own personal need, is a news article enough, magazine, trade publication, or does it need to be a peer-reviewed article, or can it be a mix of both? Where do you go to get all of those sources? You can go to Google, you can go to Google Scholar, you can go to the library catalog, you can go to library databases, and you can go to different LLMs. So where does it make the most sense? And this is where we talk about the critical thinking, to go to which locations based on what their information need, and which search terms and filters will work best to find them. So when you go to a database, a library database, which you can also use effectively for Google and Google Scholar as well, you're going to want to make a search statement using Boolean operators. This is when we connect with the and or the or statements, and we put phrases together in quotes. Well, when we're in those, especially in those introductory freshman, sophomore writing classes, we are showing students how to create those search statements. But one of the things we explain is if you're searching climate change, you might want to also think about what's another word that you can use, and that would be global warming. And if you didn't try searching both climate change and global warming, there might be great information that would have been helpful to you that you can that you're not accessing because you didn't use other terms. So we always tell them, identify from your working thesis statement or your research question some key terms that we can search, but then let's brainstorm either synonyms or related terms that we can mix and match to create our search statements. Well, some students, especially some topics can be very tricky. They have a little hard time coming up with those related terms or those synonyms. So again, going to FredGPT, Perplexity, they can go there and say, okay, well, what are some other search statements that I could create to search in a library database on this topic? And they will give them very advanced search statements that they can use. And also additional, if they're creating their own search statements, additional terms that they can use. For natural language processing, we wanted to make you aware that recently EBSCO now has natural language search. These are the databases of Academic Search Premier, SocIndex for sociology, Greenfile, APA Psych articles, ERIC, and the Teacher Reference Center. So a lot of the ones that we refer students to does have an option now to, instead of doing those fancy search statements with Boolean operators, they can put in short statements or even a research question. The only thing is they have to kind of opt into it by selecting a box that says search using natural language. I have done both, and I found that partnering the two can really be effective. But when certain students have certain topics that we're trying to figure out what would be the best search terms, sometimes the natural language can be really helpful for that. JSTOR is currently beta testing semantic results, where based on your search statement, it kind of looks at what's the concept that you're trying to research, and it'll return for you the top 25 results. So usually we're looking for keywords. Now it's actually trying to think, what is the concept that you're trying to look up, and what are the 25 best articles that they can find? Just be aware, if you are using the JSTOR one, you need to make an account and sign in first. It's free to make an account. And as we had mentioned earlier, there is a risk of hallucinations. So using LLMs as a search engine, which is not the best way of just saying, please give me sources about this, you do need to double check them, because the biggest one is that the author might be real, but the title of the book or the title of the article might be completely made up. So after students find sources, they must evaluate these sources, which takes us to the next part of the research process.
So as mentioned, in the research process, you need to evaluate all of your sources. This involves checking for relevance. It also involves checking for credibility and making sure that your research that you're using when you're then creating new information is actually legitimate. So the first part where LLMs or different AI tools can come into help with this is just checking for relevance. So many databases that utilize AI now offer summaries of articles that don't violate copyright, which is really great, because they focus on factual, non-copyrightable data, and they use AI for a transformative or high-level synopsis that operates under a legal or Creative Commons or open access license, which basically means the summary that they're creating isn't reproducing the original abstract, or it's not recreating the article. It's just giving you a high-level overview, or like those bullet points at the beginnings of articles sometimes that you see. And this way, students are able to just check in, is this even relevant to my research? However, once they do that, that's when more work comes in, because there's some things to keep aware of. Those citations can be hallucinated. AI is very confident in presenting inaccurate data. Sometimes it will even give you a citation to something, and either the citation's inaccurate or the citation it provides doesn't actually give you the information it's saying it's giving you. So it's always something to double check. Additionally, in students' research, as well as in our own, we need to be careful of uploading copyrighted articles to places like ChatGPT or Anara or other types of AI tools because of copyright, because it can expose sensitive data to public training models. It also risks producing infringing outputs without accurate citation or credit to the original authors. And then it also sometimes can violate platforms' terms of service if uploading an article to ChatGPT to have it be summarized. This brings us into the next step of the research process, which is understanding and citing our sources. So really, we should all be reading our documents when we are doing our scholarship. Maybe AI is helpful in summarizing, but when we get to that next step, we need to be reading, critically analyzing, and doing that work on our own and teaching our students how to do that for themselves as well. The reason this is because there's a number of issues with LLMs, and that when they're summarizing articles, they can misrepresent things, they can cite inaccurate information. The citations that they're giving for the articles themselves often aren't correct or up to date, as we've been saying. And additionally, when we're citing sources, we need to be citing the original work rather than the AI tool itself as the author. The reason for this is when for peer-reviewed publications, they heavily restrict or ban AI use when you're attempting to publish for multiple reasons. For citing concerns over integrity, over accountability, over the fabrication of sources. So while they may be used for editing purposes, as we've seen, it can be very helpful in double checking grammar or sentence structure, things like that. They can't be listed as authors in citations or as a credible source in a reference list. So in all of this, librarians are here to help with all of these steps. We have expertise in doing research, in teaching others how to do research, and finding and navigating these complex information environments. So we can help you with LLMs and databases. We can provide instruction for your classes. We can help you generate assignments that increase information literacy with AI, without AI. We can help with all of that and match it to the learning goals of your course. We can also provide instruction on specific tools like Perplexity, like FredGPT, or even our library's databases themselves. Or if there's specific software tools that you want to use in, for instance, data cleaning, we can also give instruction on how to utilize those and follow best practices for information creation and use. One other area of our services that we provide from the library is doing one-on-one research consultations. This includes students, and it also includes all of you as faculty. So if you ever need assistance in brainstorming, assistance in like identifying useful databases that are helpful to your research, coming up with sources that you know exist or are somewhere off in the internet, we can track them down because we're really good at finding stuff. But we're here to help is the message. And to conclude, I want to point out that we have a faculty resources page that reviews all of our services available to you from the library as faculty, including those how to make a research appointment, how to request an instruction session, as well as additional services that we can give to you. So I just want to say thank you and open the floor to questions if anybody has them about library services or how we can assist in integrating AI into the research process.
Provide an overview of my incoming students, for example, through orientation.
Yes, we do. That's a great question. So for those on Zoom, the question was if the librarians give an overview of library services that are available to students during orientation or for incoming students. Yes, the short answer is yes. For the UNIV courses or university courses, there is a library scavenger hunt that we've developed that goes over all of the information, services that we have available to students and have them kind of like, well, they do a scavenger hunt to identify all of those resources and learn them themselves. We can do that for any class, really. It's very adaptable. We can also come into your class and offer an instruction session about library services. And if you would like, we can tailor it to an assignment that they're upcoming to demonstrate how they can use those resources really easily. So yes, we do. All you have to do is request an instruction session.
And we're invited to some orientations.
Yeah.
So if you just, whether you need it to be 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever amount, we can make it as long or short as needed. So if you invite us to your orientation, we'd be happy to present quickly to your students on how we can help support them.
Go ahead.
Talk a little bit about this, but I wonder if you could say more, like for those sort of faculty research and projects that our students work on, about a little bit about key research and what are the sort of limitations of it? Are there specific tools or platforms that you recommend?
So the question was how we can support deep research. That was what it was? Sure. So are you talking more in terms of like how you can utilize AI to do those things? Sure. So for literature reviews, one tool that I know of, I haven't had a chance to test it out myself, but I've looked it up a little bit, is Anara. It's supposed to be able to pull in research that you've found and generate a literature review on it. One thing that I just want to highlight with using AI to create literature reviews is sometimes it doesn't analyze the study correctly, or it pulls in outside information saying it's from a source and then citing that source as if all of that information is from it. So it does involve more critical analysis if we want to do more high-level research using AI.
Way back. Yeah,
Yeah, do you want to say anything?
I was just going to say that we talked about the copyright issues of uploading copyrighted material. So some databases are looking on having an AI where they would only be pulling from the articles that they have access to and will still make a literature review, but it is, they have access to that information. So yes, you would have to go to a few databases and look at multiple literature reviews based on all the articles that you found, but that is something that they are working on.
is working the slideshow.
Hi, sorry. Could you mute on your end of Zoom, please? Thank you. Yeah, so that's one way. But there are copyright, as Christine mentioned, copyright concerns when you're uploading full text articles from databases that need to be addressed and usually avoided.
Can we give it up for them one more time? Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, request us for sure. There we go.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right, so we are at 11:23. Some of the other sessions are running a little bit over, so we can carve out a few minutes for final thoughts, reflections, and questions. And then we can certainly end a little so folks can stretch, get something to drink, followed by the lightning talks in this room, as well as what follows that, Chris? Lunch. Yeah, we can't forget about that. So final thoughts, reflections, questions. I think I see a hand. Yeah, right here.
Definitely librarians do, Chris. So how do you view AI support the multiple narratives? Just not just in the translation, but something that can really support the critical thinking or engage the iterative process. What I've seen is a lot of our students are take what AI produces at face value because of that uncertainty about the language that really.
Yeah, so for the folks on Zoom, the question is, how do we see AI supporting English language learners in particular? So I'll open it up for folks who want to share thoughts, ideas, either from Zoom or in the room. Yeah.
So I'm Edith Crowder,
Mm-hmm.
and my master's in music. And both of those are performance functions. So I don't give ESL students writing assignments, it's all conversation. They can speak back to me what they need to speak, then they pass whatever class. I use AI with them as a practice partner. So some of them are coming from using Duolingo or another application. And these are not academic, these are working class folks that I teach. I show them how to use AI as a practice partner. And they start having conversations out loud in English with AI, and it corrects them as they go.
One thing for evaluating sources and information that AI spits out, there's a technique, it's called lateral reading. It's what fact checkers use to validate their sources and like double confirm that what is being listed as correct. So it's essentially going outside of the source, reading other languages, which can be in their first language, for that to double check the content, and getting better understanding of the topic themselves. One thing that I've seen done with AI is double checking summaries that it's putting out and using another AI tool to fact check it, which is kind of fun in a way, because sometimes, like, if you use ChatGPT and ask the sources for something, it will give it to you. Primarily it's public domain and we public sources and also on library somewhere. But the using another AI tool to kind of fact check and ask for sources again and help in trying to understand what AI did count in the first place, and also and then using outside sources and different for many databases and also
Follow on that, right? Like this whole revolution in LLMs was based around the transformer model that Google developed specifically for trans, right? Where you want to translate whole sentences instead of individual, right? So it's really good at that. And I have a lot of ESL students who use it to ask the question, especially in engineering, do I not understand this because it's a technical word I haven't seen, or do I not understand this because I haven't seen this technical word in English? But if you translate it to Spanish or if you translate it to Croatian, all of a sudden, oh yeah, I remember that from grade 2, right? So that's really helpful. But I think totally separate from AI, I think these students that have grown up in a social media landscape where one mistake can go viral and your life is over. I think there's just an overall wanting of confidence in you, right? I think 10 years ago, if you got an AI output, the average undergrad would say the AI must be wrong. Now, if you get an AI output that's questionable, they assume that they are wrong, right? I think just that confidence building outside of the algorithm, outside of technology, helps with that critical.
Any other thoughts, questions, takeaways? Okay. Hearing none, why don't we break there so folks have a chance to stretch, get a drink, get some more coffee. We're back in here. What time do you anticipate the lightning talks will start, Chris? About 10 minutes. So we'll be back here for some talks from students and followed by lunch. So thank you all so much. And thank you to our folks on Zoom. And as a reminder, all these presentations will be available on the AI Center YouTube